Ever heard of a company so big that its collapse could shake the entire world? That's the story of Lehman Brothers. For over 150 years, they were a giant in the financial world, a true Wall Street titan. But in 2008, it all came crashing down in the largest bankruptcy filing in US history. So, what exactly happened? How did a financial powerhouse that survived the Great Depression and 2 world wars suddenly vanish? Let's rewind to the early 2000s. The US housing market was booming. Everyone wanted a piece of the action. Mortgages were being handed out left and right, even to people who couldn't really afford them. These were called subprime mortgages. Now, Lehman Brothers, like many other banks, saw a golden opportunity. They started buying up these mortgages, bundling them together into complex financial products called mortgage-backed securities, and selling them to investors all over the globe. On the surface, it looked like a money-making machine. As long as housing prices kept going up, everyone was happy. But here's where the trouble started. Lehman Brothers got greedy. They weren't just selling these securities, they were holding on to massive amounts of them themselves. They were betting big on the housing market, borrowing huge sums of money to buy even more of these risky assets. At one point, they were leveraged over 30 to 1. That means for every dollar of their own money, they had borrowed more than $30. It was a skyscraper built on a foundation of sand. Then, the inevitable happened. The housing bubble burst. Home prices started to fall, and people began defaulting on their mortgages. All those mortgage-backed securities that were supposed to be rock solid suddenly became toxic waste. Their value plummeted. Investors panicked and started selling, which only made things worse. For Lehman Brothers, this was a catastrophe. The assets they held were now worth a fraction of what they paid for them, but the massive debts they had taken on were still there. The situation was dire. In the frantic days of September 2008, Lehman was bleeding money and desperately looking for a lifeline. They tried to find a buyer, talking to banks like Bank of America and Barclays, but no one wanted to take on their mountain of toxic debt. The US government, which had bailed out other financial firms, made a controversial decision. They decided to let Lehman fail. The hope was to teach Wall Street a lesson about reckless risk-taking. On September 15, 2008, Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. The shockwave was immediate and devastating. Global financial markets went into a freefall. The Dow Jones Industrial Average had its biggest single-day drop in years. Credit markets froze because banks were too scared to lend to each other, not knowing who might be the next to fall. This triggered a full-blown global financial crisis, the worst since the Great Depression, leading to massive job losses, foreclosures, and a deep recession that affected millions of people worldwide. The fall of Lehman Brothers is a cautionary tale about greed, excessive risk, and a lack of regulation. It showed how interconnected our global financial system is, and how the failure of one institution can create a domino effect with catastrophic consequences. It led to major reforms like the Dodd-Frank Act, aimed at preventing a similar crisis from ever happening again. It's a stark reminder that in the world of high finance, the line between fortune and failure can be terrifyingly thin. Thanks for watching. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. See you in the next video.